exposing government corruption, defending our Constitution, demanding the rights of we the people, broadcasting the truth the puppet media dare not report. Long live liberty and death to the New World Order. Prepare yourself. This is Real News Radio with your host, Farron.
Okay, we're here on the Real News Radio, Farron and Brian, your weekly broadcast where we discuss current events, politics, and the failure of our federal government. To start with this week, I wanted to start with a little bit of news. We will be joined by Jared Fuller at the first break and Virginia Fox at the top of the... Some questions, hopefully, if everything goes well. We are experiencing just a little bit of technical difficulties, I believe, Brian. But this was in the news May 15th, Bloomberg. Obama says U.S. long-term debt load unsustainable. President Barack Obama, calling current deficit spending unsustainable, warned of skyrocketing interest rates for consumers if the U.S. continues to finance government by borrowing from other countries. Wow, they just now figured this out, they would have us believe. We can't keep on just borrowing from China, Obama said at a town hall meeting in Rio Rancho, New Mexico, outside Albuquerque. We have to pay interest on that debt, and that means we are mortgaging our children's future with more and more debt. Holders of U.S. debt will eventually get tired of buying it, causing interest rates on everything from auto loans to home mortgages to increase, Obama said. It will have a dampening effect on our economy. Earlier this week, the Obama administration revised its own budget estimates and raised the projected deficit for this year to a record $1.84 trillion, up 5% from the February estimate. The revision for the 2010 fiscal year estimate the deficit at $1.26 trillion, up 7.4% from February figure. The White House Office of Management and Budget also projected next year's budget will end up at $3.59 trillion, compared with the $3.55 trillion it estimated previously. So, Brian, let's believe that Obama has just come to grips with the fact that we can't continue this runaway deficit spending, that it's going to have a negative effect on our economy. And here just this week we see 1,100 closures of GM dealerships, 800 Chrysler. We're having a little technical difficulties. Bear with us. Tell us what you think, Brian.
Well, that means, Farron, that the government will have to borrow nearly 50 cents of every dollar it spends this year. Did you know?
I saw that in a report this past week, and it's just unbelievable. Our government is borrowing 50 cents of every dollar it spends, and instead of drastic cuts, I'm talking about slashes, they continue just runaway spending. You know, we reported just a week or two to Mexico for $25 billion. It's the same as us and putting it on the back of our grandchildren.
Except we're giving the IMF the power to do so.
Yes, exactly, and our grandchildren are on the hook for it. We are too, and this whole economic collapse is by design. It could have been averted. It's being done on purpose to facilitate the New World Order. It's all in the news now. Gordon Brown, Henry Kissinger. And while we're on that subject, before we go to the first break, okay. Last year at this time, Brian, we were at Chantilly, Virginia, and right now as we speak, the Bilderberg meeting is happening in Greece. We were there last year covering it, media blackout. We're hoping that next year we can have... Next week we can have Jim Tucker on. He is in Greece at the moment covering the event. So we wanted to keep this in the forefront with everyone, that once a year there is a secret meeting of the world's most elite. It's been going on since 1954, I believe, Brian, is when they were founded. And this is proof positive that we have a puppet media. New York Times, Washington Post, none of these will be covering it. Most of the owners of that are attending. And we see this year after year, a media blackout, and right now it's happening in Athens, Greece. So we want to keep that in the forefront. Some of the people that have attended, Brian,
Henry Kissinger, David Rockefeller,
they're regulars.
Queen of the Netherlands.
Yeah, Bill Clinton supposedly went in the early 90s. Rick Perry, governor of Texas. Condoleezza Rice was there last year. I know we've talked about this before. The reason we're bringing this back up is it's happening right now in Greece. Media blackout. The 120 of the world's most elite meeting in secret, setting policy, and it is reported that Timothy Geithner is there right now. So it's just astonishing. When I first heard of this, I had to prove it to myself, because people they just don't believe it, you know. And of the Logan Act. Could you tell us maybe a little bit about that? Are you well versed in that?
The Logan Act specifies that a elected official in the United States cannot meet in secret or in private with any foreign dignitaries or bodies. And of course, this is being blatantly violated at the Bilderberg meeting, because we have no media in there. We have no representation as far as what's actually occurring in there.
Exactly, and if we had, Jim Tucker said this, if we had 120 of the world's most elite athletes, or Paris Hilton, all of her friends, meeting in secret, the media would be all over it. This is proof positive that we have a puppet media, and we've got the Bilderberg Group started in 1954, Council on Foreign Relations 1955, Trilateral Commission in 1973. You join all that together with Skull and Bones and all the other secret societies that permeate our government, and you start to connect the dots that there is something awry here.
And this is something Farron and I personally witnessed last year, as he said, in Chantilly, Virginia. We personally saw Madeleine Albright drive herself into this meeting. We saw the huge motorcades when Condoleezza Rice and Secretary of Defense Robert Gates arrived.
Huge amount of security. I know we've discussed this before, but this being the weekend of the event, the yearly event, we wanted to recap it before we go to our first break and have our guest, Jared Fuller, Young Americans for Liberty, coming up. And so, again, right now happening in Athens, Greece. Hopefully, we don't know at the moment, hopefully next week we'll have Jim Tucker on. He's an eyewitness to the event. He will have insight as to actually what has transpired. They're using this by design economic collapse to facilitate their agenda.
Well, you remember Farron in Alex Jones' film Endgame came out several years ago, where he covered Bilderberg in Ottawa, Canada. That was 2006.
Yes.
You remember the scene when he was talking to Daniel Estelin, the reporter who's been following Bilderberg for years, and he said his inside source, an actual member, said oil was going to go to approximately $150 a barrel. This was 2 years before it actually happened.
Exactly right, and it happened just as they predicted. I mean, this body again sets the agenda. They set the policy. Barack Obama, nothing but a puppet, just as George W. Bush, and this is where the real power lies. Some of the other ones that have attended over the years, Richard Haas, which now he's Council on Foreign Relations, John Corzine, current governor of New Jersey, Gerald Ford, John Edwards. The list goes on and on. It's the who's who.
And last year, both Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton were within the area, and they disappeared
at the exact time.
At the exact time of the meeting. In fact, Barack Obama's airplane was scheduled to leave. They loaded all the press onto it, flew it out after it was in the air. They told him, well, he's not flying.
And even the press reported, and it was covered in the mainstream press, that a secret meeting was going on between him and Hillary. This was at the exact same time that we were at Chantilly, Virginia, the Hotel Marriott, surrounded by a huge amount of security, all the way from the local police department to undisclosed Secret Service. Yeah. And to witness it firsthand, right? It's going on right now. It's reported Timothy Geithner is there. Where's Rush Limbaugh? Where's Sean Hannity? Where's all the big patriots reporting this? Be loud. Just for yourself, yourself. Federal committee. At least Jeff Kennedy. And it all started May 1st, 1776 with the Illuminati. We are going on a break. We're going to come back with Jared Fuller. Young Americans for Liberty, you're listening to The Real News. I think we got all of our technical issues solved. We will be back in 3 minutes.